Pain heals. Chicks dig scars. Glory lasts forever.
Whew. Indiana Fever playoff hopes. They hang by a strand of Caitlin Clark's hair. Luckily for them, that hair is rather long. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate all of your support as always. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Shout out to the 19. Let's go. The Indiana Fever got absolutely embarrassed last night by the Golden State Valkyries, an expansion team that has now swept the Indiana Fever 4-0. Nil. That's zero for those of you that don't follow soccer and want to sound like a soccer snob. So, wow, first I gotta point this out before we dig into some of the other stuff. Look at that box score numbers, folks. Look at the quarter by quarter. 14, 18, 16, 15. They did not get out of the teens one single quarter, scored 63 points. That is absolutely embarrassing. The other thing that is embarrassing, by the way, for the WNBA or for Golden State, and I mean, to be fair, there are weird things that have happened. Obviously, there's so many games played indoors or even football outdoors with lights that things do happen time to time. But the first quarter last night with the clock was an absolute fiasco. An absolute fiasco because they could not get the clocks to work. I believe it was the shot clock and they couldn't get them to sync up. And then they brought out the backups on the stand that they rolled out and then they couldn't get them to sync up. And it was an absolute nightmare. It was a nightmare. But yeah, so that obviously disrupted a lot of things. But I will say this. It's a nightmare for people watching. It's a nightmare for the fans. It's no fun for the players. But in terms of advantage or disadvantage, it would impact both teams. I mean, it's not like it happened when there was a minute and a half left in the fourth quarter and the team losing by 3 has all the momentum because they just went on a 12-1 run or something like that. Okay. Then there might be an impact on one team over the other. But man, this is Natasha Howard. I'm sorry, but she just doesn't have it anymore. She certainly doesn't have it to play within this team. She has not been effective for a while now, and yet we keep trotting her out there. And I mean, look, she shot well. She was 5-9. She had 13 points, 6 rebounds, 5 turnovers. Someone playing Natasha Howard's position should not have 5 turnovers. But the bigger thing is there is no flow with her. There's no defense. I mean, she's slow to react. She's slow to move. She looks like she's playing in quicksand, if not cement boots from the waste management companies in New York and New Jersey. The cement shoes that they might put on a customer. Yeah, Aaliyah Boston absolutely no showed. Absolutely no showed last night. 2 of 7. 6 rebounds. Now, look, she did have 3 assists, 3 steals, also turned it over 3 times. 2 of 7. This is the all-star center. The center I keep hearing is the best center in the league. Stephanie White keeps saying, we have to get her the ball. And yet, 2 of 7. And other people complain, Ariel Powers or Sims or whoever shouldn't be taking more shots than Aaliyah. Well, a lot of that's on Aaliyah. And a lot of it's on teammate, and it's also on Stephanie White. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Did we not just do a video for, I think, last game when Stephanie White talked about how we got to get Aaliyah Boston touches? And they simply do not do it. They simply do not do it. Um, Christy Sides would find a way to get Aaliyah Boston touches. I'm just saying, paint touches, folks. Now I know people say, "Oh, the Valkyries packed it in. They forced the Fever to shoot threes, and they were double teaming Aaliyah Boston and all this." But again, if she is that player, she is the best center in the league. You have to find ways to get her the ball. Stephanie White has to find ways to get her the ball. Aaliyah Boston has to find ways to get in a position to then demand the basketball from her teammates. Man, this stuff is starting to absolutely drive me crazy. Man, now here's the other thing. I want to go back to what I said about the Golden State Valkyries because they beat the swept the Fever 4-0. Now just think, by the way, if they had just split with the expansion team, how much of a difference that would make right now in terms of the playoffs. Right, that would be absolutely huge. But here's the other thing want you to think about these games that you've been watching them play, the Indiana Fever, watching the Golden State Valkyries play. And a lot of people talk about how much fun it is to watch the Valkyries play. The Golden State Valkyries, through an expansion draft, built a Caitlin Clark basketball team. Yes, they did. Could you imagine that team with the addition of Caitlin Clark? They built the Valkyries and then they said, Here, Caitlin, here are the keys. We built you this. Here are the keys. You take it out for a ride. You take it out for a spin. You do whatever it is you want to do. The Fever, meanwhile, looked at everything Caitlin Clark brings and they said, Yeah, you know what we're going to do? We're going to build the anti Caitlin Clark team. We're going to bring in entitled, washed, slow players, vets that want to change the Caitlin Clark culture. That I should think. Let me back that up. Don't want to change the culture and bring the WNBA into modern era basketball with Caitlin Clark. No, they want to do the opposite. Natasha Howard wants to be MVP. Dewana Bonner wants to be the star of the team. And when she can't do that, she tries to rip it apart from the inside and acts like a 3-year-old child. That is the team that Kelly and Amber brought you. That is the team that Stephanie White wants to coach. You must keep that in mind. Now you know. And to that point, speaking of Stephanie White and the way this team is built, especially when you play a team like Golden State, is this the team that never, ever, ever dictates the pace of a game? Caitlin Clark dictated everything. She dictated everything. She dictated the pace of the game. She dictated the way teams played defense because of the motion that she had and the things she could do with the basketball in terms of her 3-point shooting, getting to the basket, her passing ability, vision, IQ, all of that stuff. This Fever team dictates nothing. They get dictated to, again, even by an expansion team. Kelsey Mitchell, 4 of 14. And I know, and I get it. A lot of people talk about the like Kelsey sitting for a 5-minute stretch, which I don't agree with. But again, she did play 33 minutes. She only sat 7 of the 40. She was 4 of 14. She was 2 of 10 from the 3-point line. Would it have been better to not sit her for such a long stretch at one time in the game? Yeah, absolutely. Right. That's completely on Stephanie White. But Kelsey Mitchell also did not step up. And this is again, and she deferred at times too. She wants the basketball. She's a scorer. She thinks buckets, but she doesn't have the mentality of a winner. She's not a Michael Jordan who recognizes, all right, this team is in trouble right now. We need a bucket. I am going to get them that bucket. Kobe Bryant, same thing. Allen Iverson, same thing. They step up in big moments. They want the basketball. They want to make a difference. They're not just about scoring throughout the game at any time. They really step up when it truly matters. Kelsey Mitchell doesn't show you that. She doesn't have that in her head about how she needs at a time. She doesn't have Caitlin Clark out there. Kelsey Mitchell needs to take over games, and she doesn't do it. She's passing the ball to Turner. She's passing the ball to Howard. Kelsey Mitchell, you're the greatest. You're the greatest. I shouldn't say greatest because that sounds like long term. Right now in the league, you're the best shooting guard in the league. You're explosive. You can get to the basket. You got to do that. If you're shooting 2 of 10 from 3, you're as quick as anybody out there. Get to the bucket. I mean, she was 4 of 4 from the line. It would have been nice if she was, 8 of 9. So you can't have this talk of her as MVP with people were trying to do, and they even wore shirts for it. Yes, phenomenal shooting guard. I just said she's the best shooting guard in the league. I said that before. She's a scorer, but that is her thing. She's not bringing you anything else. And if she doesn't show up for buckets, if she's not shooting well, and she also doesn't have that mentality of this is the moment in the game where I have to make a difference, I'm going to take the basketball and I am going to score. She does that normal times. Like she'll do that in the first quarter where she's going to get right. We've seen it. We talked about this dribbling in circles stuff and all of that because she's already made up her mind that she's shooting the basketball, but she doesn't bring that mentality when game is on the line. The Fever really, really needed a Michael Jordan-esque Kobe Bryant style Kelsey Mitchell tonight. And if they needed a coach who was going to leave her in for that, but we didn't get that. We simply did not get that. They're chucking up threes. They're not going to the basket. I mean, folks, 6 of 30, and I do have a couple things I want to get into also that we saw, but 6 of 30 from three. 6 of 30 from 3. They shot well from the line this time though, 15 of 18. I can't fault that, but 6 of 30 from 3, 21 of 63 overall. Overall, 33%. This is absolutely insane. Oh my goodness. I don't know what we're gonna. I don't know. And I'll tell you what, get that CBA fixed and let's see some changes for the off season because this stuff is hurting my heart and all this narrative they're trying to say about how this team is better without Caitlin Clark or more dangerous, as Carolyn Peck said, and all that. And Kelsey's the MVP, and Aaliyah Boston's the best center, and all of that stuff. And I've said they still got the talent to make that do damage in the playoffs, but you need good coaching and you need players who are going to do what they need to do. But man, yeah, this isn't it. They couldn't hit anything. They kept chucking up threes. I mean, this wow. What and I do not want I saw the other day too where someone was like, "Oh, White is so amazing with all the injuries." And look, I get it. They have had injuries, but let's flip that for a second. Because here's a frustration. I want to bring us back to another frustration that we've talked about before. Why the WNBA does a lot of protecting and why there are a lot of players that are as good or better than players in the league that aren't getting a chance, or they may get in the league and then they're out and they don't get another chance. And the Fever were so desperate that they dug in. I don't know if y'all remember as long ago as last year when I said go get Odyssey Sims. I said go get Aerial Powers. And what happened? Where are they now? Yeah, the Fever finally had to dig that deep and get them because of all the injuries. But let me ask you this. And you know what? I'm not even going to mention names because it's not about that. And I don't want to make it about, oh, you're just throwing shade at this player or you don't like this player. But even if you don't want to put it out there and put it in the comments, although I'm curious what y'all think. Are there not players that the Fever signed in which we would have been better off making the choice in the off season, getting an Odyssey Sims or getting an Aerial Powers and not signing some of the players that we did sign? So let me ask you, why? Right? There's the question. Why? Why did that happen? Why did we make certain choices and not sign some of these players? Why were some of these players not out there playing? But anyway, back to White real quick. Look, she because here's the thing: a lot teams have bad losses. All teams have bad losses. Good teams have bad losses. Teams that go on to win championships have bad losses. But the issue isn't that they lost or had a bad night again, because we can still point out to White was terrible that she didn't make any adjustments. She didn't make any adjustments in terms of, I mean, I believe wasn't that a zone early on, and the Valkyries are just hitting open threes. Like, what are we doing there? She's not making adjustments. The timing in which Kelsey Mitchell sat is a question. She didn't call timeouts at the right time. I guess again, apologies, Christy Sides. You weren't as bad as we thought. There were no adjustments to get Aaliyah Boston the basketball. But I want to wrap this up with hopefully if I can with a couple of things. There's this and this is another reason I brought up Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant because and look, there are other players that with the right mentality and everything, but everyone knows their names and knows exactly what I mean when I talk about their mentality and their desire to win games because this was during the shot clock delay. Okay, so this was during the game. Hey, AB, what Caitlin doesn't look too into it. What kind of game did you go have, AB? I'm just wondering, like maybe there should be a focus on keeping your mind right for the game that you really, really, really need to win so you don't get swept by an expansion team. And this is what you're doing. And I get some people like, oh no, that's not big. I'm sorry, I disagree. I mean, I didn't play at this level. I do know I actually help athletes with the mental side of the game and mental performance. And if you have a player who has trouble locking in, which Aaliyah Boston does, I think we all know that. This isn't it, folks. I promise you, Michael Jordan wasn't doing this. I promise you, Kobe Bryant wasn't doing this at this time. Just simply wasn't happening. This is, and here we go to, whoop, all right, we got this. This is just funny. And then I've got one more again, speaking of locking in and the mentality of it. But NBA Centel went out him here and said, oh, here's the first dunk of the game. Yeah. Oh, just can't. I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing here? Pay us what you owe us. That was almost an air ball, folks. I'm just saying, I'm just saying. Um, and then
Me curling.
we had this. Y'all are gonna have to explain this to me, folks. The entire Fever team, they're down 32-14, by the way. 32-14, not even halfway through the second. What are they doing? What are they doing? Are you kidding me? When I first saw it, I thought like, what the hell did they think that went in and they're like expecting somebody to inbound it? But then I realized no, they played defense on her. They played defense on her. So yeah, no, they just left her. They're like, oh, she's gonna kick it out. Look at that. All three. Kelsey Mitchell's on the ground. Kelsey Mitchell's on the ground. And the other three just left. Okay, look at this. Kelsey Mitchell, like, okay, Kelsey's on the ground. They know she's on the ground. All three of them are looking at the ball. Look, man, if she throws it out, you got to turn and hustle and close for sure. But oh my God, that's like some Harlem Globetrotters crap, my friends. That is some Harlem Globetrotters crap. I'm gonna wrap it up just with a reminder on this. They're down to 8, folks. Now, they're still all right. They're still all right because they've got a 2-game lead on the Sparks. They've got 1 game in the loss column, which is the big deal. The Sparks would have to win 2 more games, and out of the next 3, the Sparks would have to win 3 and the Fever lose 1. And that being said, Fever got 2 very tough games of their 4 remaining. They've got the Mercury and they have the Lynx. But there are also some other tough ones, right, where teams are playing each other as well. So that helps. I think Seattle plays Golden State or the Sparks, but you can see Fever, and they're only half game. They're tied in the loss column with Seattle, which they have the tiebreaker against Seattle. They don't have the tiebreaker against Golden State or the Sparks, though. And so we've got coming up Sparks Storm. So one of them's going to have another loss, whether it's the 21st loss for the Sparks or the 20th for Seattle. Either one is huge, really, because they already have a lead against the Sparks, which is good because they don't have the tiebreaker. And they have the tiebreaker against the Storm. So I'm good with a loss there. Valkyries playing the Liberty. Liberty still haven't clinched, I don't think. So, that's a tough battle. And of course, the Fever have a tough battle with the Mercury on Tuesday. Then the Sparks have to play the Dream, right? So the Sparks are tough. The Sparks have the Storm and then the Dream. And then we go down Golden State, they're going to beat Dallas. That game doesn't matter. And then the Sparks have the Dream again. So they have the Dream back. So they got Storm, Dream, Dream. And the Indiana Fever get the Chicago Sky. And then the Storm have the Liberty. And then Golden State has Minnesota while we get Washington. And then the Sparks are going to beat Dallas. But and then I think we go down toward the end here. And then we got so again, Indiana Fever ought to make the playoffs, folks. They ought to make the playoffs. I think I saw something where Caitlin's expected September 7th. I think it's got to be the 5th, but we'll see. We'll see what they're going to do. It's going to be really interesting. They might think, hey, let's get her back and for the playoffs, and then if we crash out, then we'll just blame it on Caitlin. Anyway, let me know what you think on all this in the comments below. Appreciate you checking out this video. As always, do me a favor, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the content, and I will talk to you later. Go have the day you deserve.